1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome once again to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. 31 Days of Horror. Oops, all werewolves. I am one of your hosts, Precious D.
And I am the other one of your hosts today, Honeybee.
We have a lot of guest hosts during this season, but Honeybee is with me today, and that makes it a good day.
Oh, shucks.
Today's movie is Werewolf, The Beast Among Us. Gee, I wonder which type of werewolf movie this is. It's from 2012. Directed by Louis Morneau. Story by Michael Tabb. Screenplay by Michael Tabb, Louis Morneau, and Catherine Kyron. It is 93 minutes. I don't see any budget or box office, but it says distributed by Universal Studios Home Entertainment. So I think it must have been direct to cable or direct to video. I don't think it would have been in the theaters.
That makes sense because it has a very, what is the word? Soap opera vibe.
I was going to say Sci-Fi Channel original.
Yes,
vibe,
yeah,
but
same. But it's just very, like, dramatic and we are acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It stars Ed Quinn as Charles and Stefan Yanku as young Charles, Guy Wilson as Daniel, Stephen Ray as Doc, Rachel DePillo as Ava. I recognize that name. What have I seen her in? I'll look her up in a minute. Adam Crostel as Stefan, Anna Ularu as Kazia, Florin Piersek Jr. as Fang, Stephen Bauer as Hyde, and Nia Peebles as Vadoma. Was that the mother?
I don't know.
Yes, it was. Nia Peebles. Holy crap.
Peebles.
Okay. Yes. She was in Pretty Little Liars, Young and the Restless, Walker, Texas Ranger.
Dang.
I just know that. I just recognized her name. Stephen Rea is in real movies. He was in V for Vendetta, which we watched on another podcast. He was the cop. He was in The Crying Game. Rachel DePillo, how do I know her? What is she in? She was on Jane the Virgin and Chicago Med. Okay, so this is sort of a type 2, there's a Werewolf Among Us story, as you may have guessed from the title. It is a type 3 bipedal werewolf. It's also, I thought, a little bit Seven Samurai with werewolves.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, we discussed this briefly on Rachel's episode.
I remember
about the samurai werewolf. Seven Samurai has been remade multiple times in multiple different settings and genres. And the basic premise is
Bug's Life situation?
Yes,
Yes.
That's the comedy version. There's a village, it's being attacked by bandits. They hire samurai or other types of warriors to come defend the village. In the comedy version, they intend to hire warriors and hire entertainers by mistake, which is Three Amigos, Galaxy Quest, and A Bug's Life. So when the two villagers came into the bar looking for hunters, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Is this Seven Samurai? They don't explicitly hire them. They just sort of generally offer a reward. Even though these two guys come looking to hire people, then we just see that, well, it's just sort of an open reward situation. And apparently it's a period piece set in a sort of pseudo 19th century somewhere in Europe. But apparently the area is just riddled with werewolves because these guys are making their living hunting werewolves and say multiple times, well, this is no ordinary werewolf, implying that we've all dealt with ordinary werewolves. We know what that's like. Everyone here is familiar with ordinary werewolves, right? Well, this is a step up from that.
Yeah, at one point, one guy's like, this wolf thinks like a man.
Yeah. There's also a element to this story where, let's see, if a werewolf kills somebody but the body isn't disposed of, then it comes back as a wodolek, which is a Slavic word that is basically a type of vampire. Apparently in their folklore there's multiple types of vampires. There is in some folklore a kind of connection between werewolves and vampires, and they do sometimes share various characteristics, and there isn't always a clear line between them. But that is an element in this story that turns out to be important later.
Very important.
The other thing that made me realize this might be Seven Samurai is the guy all dressed in black reminded me of Robert Vaughn's character from the Magnificent Seven, which is the Western version of Seven Samurai, and probably the most famous remake of it. So I have a list on Letterboxd of Seven Samurai and its various remakes, so I'm thinking I might add this movie to it.
Nice.
Our hero wears a Van Helsing inspired hat, I thought. And there was a Wilhelm scream in the movie, which I appreciated.
Nice.
Honeybee, what did you think of Werewolf, the Beast Among Us?
I really liked the kind of character building that we got from Daniel, from how in the beginning he was this kind of like how they dress him in the beginning, so we don't really see that he's kind of this like buff badass. Like he's very like nerdy and in the books, and he's like the doctor's assistant, and like throughout the movie we kind of see him change, and I like really appreciated how they did that. I did think this movie was just very, like you said, sci-fi original as far as the acting went, but I didn't necessarily mind that. I did really love the random legs and arms and guts and body parts spewed throughout the movie, just randomly. In every other scene, there's just like, you know, half a torso or like an arm or a leg or, you know, and I thought that the makeup and the effects were really good. Well, and at one point,
so Daniel is the local boy who wants to join up with the not samurai. And at one point they send him to get some bait, and they make him go get some of the werewolves victims and cut them open and get a bunch of guts and an arm and a leg and whatever. But then it seemed like they didn't end up actually using that when they baited their traps. They just hung one of the number upside down in the middle of a clearing as bait.
He did kind of
he did kind of
spread the guts around though first before he hung upside down. He like had buckets and kind of like spread it around, but yeah, I really think they were just trying to get him the fuck out of the way and like give him a job to like, okay, little one, go do this. All right, he's gone. Let's do the thing. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of how they treat him. Peanut butter. Yeah.
There's a thing on movie sets, or at least on somebody's movie set, where they send the intern out to get some peanut butter and like a specific brand or something. And when they come back, they're like, no, I want a crunchy peanut butter. Or if they bring crunchy, they're like, no, it's got to be smooth peanut butter. And they're just jerking them around. It's, you know, it's just hazing the poor intern.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that's what they're doing, because after he brings the blood and guts back, the guy's like, all right, kind of like, well, you'll get to ride with us next time. And then the other guy's like, you know, there's never going to be a next time, right? You know, like, So I don't know. I think they were just trying to get him out of the way, because also whenever he's like, I'm volunteering my services, I want to fight with you. They're like, oh God, there's one in every town. You know, here he comes, the fucking annoying ass kid who blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think that they were just trying to distract poor Daniel to get. Little did they know.
Yes. There are several defenestrations in this movie, which are always fun. And I wrote at one point, it's the Doctor. You don't cast Gabriel Byrne and not have him be the werewolf. But apparently you don't cast Byrne, you cast Stephen Rea. I was sure it was Gabriel Byrne.
I honestly, I thought it was Ava, and I'll tell you why. Because at the very, very beginning of the movie, like the first scene, right? There's like the family and the little boy, and the girl's like banging at the door, and she's like, "Help! The beast! Ah, the beast!" And then the little boy kills her after his mom gives him, "This is your grandfather's necklace. He was the great hunter. Hold on to it," right? And then he kills the werewolf, and the werewolf turns back, and it's that like sweet, innocent, pretty young girl. So when we meet Ava, and then she kind of is like a little weird in parts, like standoffish, and like she knows something or something weird. There's something about her. I was like, ooh, it's her. She's the werewolf. And I thought that for like a few scenes. And then obviously,
well, that would have made
not.
sense why it would have made sense why her father doesn't want the boy coming around.
Exactly.
Like,
and why the huge
more than
gate?
just being an overprotective father. He was that would have been interesting if he was actually protecting the boy and not protecting his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that.
Yeah, whenever she has the big fence, like she's fenced in, you know, and when the vampire dude like takes her home, he's like, "Oh, you're being protected, eh?" And I was like, "No, she's the werewolf killer." But she wasn't.
Yeah. It turns out it's not the Doctor, but the Doctor's kind of behind it all. It's Daniel. And but the Doctor's been aiming him. The Doctor's been training him and aiming him at lowlifes. So Daniel has no memory of when he becomes a werewolf. But the Doctor's been training him to just go after undesirables in the community.
Gypsies,
And
tramps, and thieves. We hear
wants
from the
to.
people of the town like,
There's one dude who's just. There's another guy who's just. It's the gypsies. It's obviously them. Let's just kill them all. I'm like, oh man. Oh, and we do get.
Yes, we do.
Get the poem.
We get the poem.
One of the so-called gypsies, pardon us, pardon our language, gives us the. Even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright.
Woo!
Speaking of which, at one point Daniel informs us that tonight is the longest night of the year, the night when the moon is closest to the earth. And I'm like, those are not the same thing. Those are not directly connected at all. You're talking out of your ass.
Well, they didn't have the internet, okay?
Perhelion. No, but they actually did, because they didn't have the internet, they studied the skies because they had nothing else to look at, and they had pretty good records of when those things were, pretty good models of when the longest night of the year was. They definitely knew when the longest night of the year was. I'm not sure when they worked out all the details of when the moon was closest and farthest away, but I feel like by the 1900s, 19th century, that they had a pretty good handle on those kind of things. But yeah, folks, those are not the same thing. I wrote, village guy has a good plan. It backfires on him. One of the villagers at one point has narrowed down like 8 suspects who have no alibi and wants to just lock them up in the jail until the moon, comes out. And then part of his posse notices that you don't have a good alibi either. Get in there. It's like, what?
Damn it.
And then one guy starts having an epileptic fit and they shoot him. And shoot everybody else in the cell. And then Daniel's mother informs them, "You idiots, he had epilepsy. He wasn't transforming." I didn't buy this, though. I feel like in a village that size, if somebody has epilepsy, everybody's aware of it.
Yeah.
There's no way this was a surprise. One of our samurai has silver teeth that he puts in for his fights. I thought that was interesting. It's a unique approach. Like, fuck that wolf, I'm going to bite him with my silver teeth.
You bite me, I bite you.
I also wrote, "What's with knife guy?" Because it turns out, so the guy that's not Robert Vaughn uses knives as his weapons. And he has a little altercation with Daniel. He turns into a real asshole. He's hitting on Daniel's girlfriend and then starts getting really aggressive with her at one point. And he and Daniel have a fight, and he seems to be displaying superhuman strength. He gets defenestrated.
You're not the only one who gets stronger during the solstice.
Yeah. Just lands on the ground after falling like 20 feet and is perfectly fine. Turns out he is one of these Wodalax and has been fighting werewolves for centuries.
My favorite part with that guy specifically, because I didn't really love that guy. He's kind of annoying, but not just his character, like the acting in general. But there was this like one line where during the him and Daniel fight, where he's like, "I don't have time for your games, peasant boy." And I just laughed so hard. It was so funny. Oh, man.
He is very smarmy, villainy kind of guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So Daniel apparently was born a werewolf. His mother's known this whole time. The doctor also knows and has been training him. Wants to take him to the big city where they can really wipe out some lowlives.
Ugh.
The doctor shoots our head werewolf hunter at one point, but he's only partly dead. Comes back and kills the doctor later. And then the remaining werewolf hunters, the survivors, ride off into the sunset to go. They take Daniel with them to go hunt werewolves in general, because he's a good werewolf, I guess. And he's gaining more control over himself, too.
Yeah, he's getting to the point where he can control
change
it.
at will.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a scene, though, where the hunters have set up all their traps and stuff. They've done all of these, swinging logs and springing branches and things, and then but they don't communicate this with the village. So a bunch of the villagers come out to hunt the werewolf at the same time, and a couple of them end up getting killed by the traps. And it's just a total shit show.
It really is. I was kind of sad for Daniel's mom, the way that she dies, and then Daniel's a werewolf at this point. Like, he's running away, and the villagers like go to shoot, and she kind of gets in the way. Like, "No, you know him. It's Daniel. Yeah. Don't shoot." And she dies. And then in the next scene, Daniel is switching back into a human, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's controlling it. He's switching at will." And then he's just like naked. And the hero guy like gives him a jacket, and he's like, "Here you go, sonny. And here's my grandfather's necklace. I've been waiting to give this to someone for years." I'm like, okay, what the fuck? But anyways, and then he just like, no one tells him, like, no one is like, "Oh, hey, by the way, your mom's dead." Like, it just like goes on like, "Okay, you're a human now, and now you're a good guy. You can come with us." But like, bro, your mom is outside of this cave, the ruins. Your mom's outside of the ruins, and she got shot by the villagers because she was trying to protect you. So sorry to tell you that while you're sitting here naked, shivering, turning back into a human. It's really just sad. But I was really sad for that moment and her in general. It was just really awkward.
Oh. Well, Honeybee, what are you going to rate Werewolf the Beast Among Us?
Man, I think I'm going to just give it another halvesies. I think it's just all right.
Yeah, I agree. I'd give it a half moon.
Yeah, it was okay.
Fine.
Especially for straight to
TV.
Yeah. There were things I really liked about it. Mostly the sets, the special effects. Not the special effects of like the wolf per se, but like, the Made in Taiwan arms and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
it was
really
a
liked that stuff.
CGI werewolf,
Yeah.
if anyone's wondering. It was a computer werewolf, which we don't love, but some of them
Yeah.
are better than others.
For
This one
sure.
was-
This one was
This
not
one was
good.
okay. It wasn't.
It was. I didn't think it was very good.
It wasn't
at all.
great, but it wasn't as bad as American Werewolf in Paris, which I don't think you saw, but those were
I didn't.
those were bad. Yeah, they were not good. They weren't well done and they weren't well designed. So
Yeah, and like I said, I did really appreciate the character building of Daniel, how he kind of starts off as this like little quiet, like smart dude, and he's like really, the way they like dress him, he's very covered up and he's very kind of small, and you know, we see him and we're like, oh, he's the little village boy, and then, you know, by the middle of the movie, he's like doing something with his shirt off and he has a 6-pack and he's like, I'm a man. And then like later on, he's a fucking full ass werewolf. So I did like how we how they transitioned him throughout the movie for us to kind of see the change. I really appreciated that. Like, it was all right. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it was okay.
I was surprised at how jacked Daniel was.
Yeah, I know, right?
was
Yeah,
like, what the
same.
hell?
Whoa, Daniel, what the? And when he tells Ava that she's like, Daniel, I heard that you were joining the hunters, but you're not. And he's like, I'm not what? You know, he's like kind of offended, like, what? This is my town. Like, I'm gonna stand up. I am.
Right.
Whatever she was gonna say, we'll never know. But then he, like, the next scene, he's like just his shirt's off and he's just jacked. I was like, oh damn, he wasn't lying. He's like, fuck you, Ava, I work out.
So
all right.
yes, obviously they've been behaving themselves, and she's never seen him with his shirt off.
Which is
Because
true.
you know he can only see her for a few minutes.
Yes.
He can only see her for a few minutes before her dad tries to shoot him.
Shoot him, yeah. And then when they go and meet
Her
at the
father,
ruins.
did we say that? Did we mention this? Her dad
No.
actually tries to shoot. Well, he misses on purpose, I think. But her dad takes a pot shot at him as he's leaving the grounds.
And it doesn't seem like this is the first time either. It seems like it has happened before.
No.
But
I
then
think
when
it does it every
they
time.
they go to meet at this like ruins place, and I was like, oh. But then they don't do anything. They don't like kiss. They're not being like
Right.
sneaky. They're just like hee hee hee, flirt flirt flirt. I'll see you later. And so yeah, I really think they have been behaving themselves because nothing happens even when they're alone. So go them, good for them. But yeah. Daniel was surprisingly quietly jacked.
Yeah, doesn't she go with them at the end? She's going to go
Yes.
along to hunt werewolves. All right. So, and they lived happily ever
And
after.
they lived happily ever after. The end.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for Werewolf, the Beast Among Us. We'll be back tomorrow, continuing our 31 days of horror with another movie. Until then, I have been Precious D.
And I have been Honey Bee.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please, don't misuse science.
Did you forget your cues? What?
No, I'm
We
just
will not see
laughing
you.
at this movie.
We will not see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texicano Folk Rock Punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/mmftg.